Welcome to the 2023 season review here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. And just like that, that is another season. Very different this time around. I went back and watched my review from last year. I watched my preview for this year for the season. You know, last year, it took me weeks to get back in front of the camera. I was hating it. I did not want to even think about football. There was nothing exciting about what was happening 12 months ago. Trials and tribulations throughout a season, they come, they go, and I was morbid last year. And this year, I'm not morbid. I'm obviously really devastated with the way it ended in the prelim, but I just mentioned the word prelim and Carlton in the same sentence, and you kind of get the gist of how I'm feeling. And I don't know, maybe that translates to some of you as well. I don't know. We'll let you tell me about it in the comments. But I sit here wrapping up the season and I feel a sense of pride with the group, with the club, with what's happened. I also just watched my round 13 review against the Bombers because for me, it's pretty clear to pinpoint how you talk about the year. It's pretty much pre-round 13 and post-round 13. That's how I've absorbed this year. And that is how I think the season is to be spoken about. There are images which I think also summarize a bit about the year. So let's circle back. End of the season last year. The final siren for season 2022. We see our boys lying on the ground, looking completely shot, devastated, slumped. The word I have written down is regret. There is a sense of regret or shame or embarrassment, but I think regret is the word. Fast forward to the final siren of the preliminary final. They're all standing up. They're not moping. They're not slouched. They're walking on their own 2 feet. Not one of them fell to the ground. And the word I wrote down here was pride. So it was regret and pride. And I think if you just look at the body language of them, it actually says so much. Because I felt last year the way it ended, they knew that they muffed it. They knew that they probably could have done a little bit more throughout the year. And I think at the end of this year, they kind of knew that this was the best that they had. They actually walk off the field, head held high, saying, I gave it my all. We got ourselves in a hole, which we're going to touch on shortly. But the way it ended, which at the end of the day, what matters is how you finish. And I think that sense of pride, even though it was something that was hurting them, was instilled, and I felt that as well. You know, I mean, mate, what do you mean? Can't just talk about the first quarter of the prelim, but you have to know, you have to mention it. Like, to get a taste of it, like a real taste of what is possible, that is addictive. That is addictive. There's no way that's not motivating. One thing I was mindful of, and I probably will be, is how are we going to react this preseason and the work that they put in. So last year, I don't want to use the word easy, but I don't know what the other word to use is. But you're drawing off pain. You're drawing off shame, embarrassment, regret. You're drawing off that darkness. So it's in the back of your mind. So there's that. This year, are you drawing off? You're drawing off pride. You know that you had I don't know is it a successful season? Yeah, you had a successful season. You achieved, and it showed up on the field. It showed up in the number of wins. It showed up in the fact that you're able to make a prelim. So what's the motivation like? I can't see them getting comfortable. And the reason I say that is because there's been too much disappointment for them to just get comfortable now that they've had one sort of breakout year. So I feel like this is the beginning. I also feel like how much more can they go through? We've gone through poor seasons, sacking coaches, disappointment, fan reaction, like ugly scenes. One of our club stalwarts, cancer. Like we've gone through a lot. So, and I think rather than being fearful of, that shark or that lion chasing after you, there's now the carrot in front of you because like they got so close. And a lot of these players have pain of not playing in these finals games. So there's competition for spots. And I think also, why do you play any sport? You play to win. They want a premiership and they know how close they can be. That's an interesting one. I thought we were so far away. No, we were so far away. Round 13 happens. Obviously, we go through the 9-game stretch, 8 losses in 9 weeks. That win came against the West Coast Eagles, whatever. It broke us. It broke us in so many ways, but it also pulled us all together. I think so much about what it all meant because as a supporter, you don't know what's going on the inside. I'm not on the inside. I'm not a coach. I don't know the conversations that are being had. I don't know the dynamic of the relationships with the players between themselves and each other and the coaches and like who's going through what in life. And they're young men. So there's all of that. So on the outside, you just look at the results, you look at the press conferences, you read every article, and you try and formulate something. And I think a lot of us, everyone had a breaking point to a certain extent. I think a lot of us, it was round 13, and it wasn't like a breaking point to be dramatic. Like people were actually done, completely done. Like don't want to watch anymore. Don't care what happens. I'm done with this club. So as surprising as the bad patch was to me, I didn't see it coming. What happened afterwards was even more surprising. And I think there's a few notions here. So I think we as a club needed to have our stability tested. And how do you test stability other than hardship, like what we experienced? Boards in the past sack the coach. It just gets a little bit too much. When the fans turn on the regime, we'll call it, it's a shit show. It's crazy. The word is crazy. We've got fans rocking up to training to eyeball players. We had the scenes after Essendon, scarves being thrown, people spitting, like the ugly. And I'm not here to, I don't want that to ever happen again. I'm here to just observe what it is. You have the good side, you have the bad side, and you have the ugly side. This is human nature. These are humans. And when you have humans who are emotionally invested in something, you have to be prepared for the whole lot. Like it is just a game. This is a made up game with made up rules in a fantasy world that we live in. But we care about it so much. It's also what makes our club so special. So the stability was tested. They had to hold their nerve. They did. And it's a massive kudos to Luke Sayers, Brian Cook, and the team, the off-field team. I think after that, we then saw ownership. We then saw the players take control of themselves, take control of their club. And I think who knows, they may talk about it in years to come, but there was a sense that, like enough was enough. Line in the sand type stuff, but not like in seasons past, like a real line in the sand. I think they took ownership, and I think they also realized all they really have on game day is themselves. Like, yes, we add a layer to the atmosphere, but they had to go and get the job done. They had to go and be there for each other. Early in the season, the word painful came up a lot. Growth is pain is what I've learned since. But I couldn't understand why is it so painful to watch them play. We tried to add a layer to the way we move the ball. And that was evident. And that was obviously needed as well. So we try and do that. And through that, it may have been a little bit too advanced for them, whatever it was. It just led them to, they were taking too long to think about what they were doing before they were doing it. So we hadn't been able to imprint what we wanted to do subconsciously, so we weren't thinking about it. And it was just not working. I actually think we're going to have to revisit it in order for us to improve. Because I think there's a reason why they wanted to fix up the ball movement. Obviously, you've got to evolve every year, so you've got to try something new. So there's that. And we go from being so far away, 15th, bottom 4, peak list, peak players, prime of their careers entering. And then we go from being so far away from a premiership to almost jumping the queue in the prelim at quarter time. Because I'm thinking, I thought there would be a long process to get to finals, which there was, and there was. Then I thought, we've got to learn how to win a final. That might take another year. We might, and then it's like, we're in a prelim. We're 5 goals up in a prelim away from home at the Gabba. So it just goes to show, you just got to wait. You have to. I have to wait until everything is presented in front of me before making a judgment. I can't believe I allowed us to talk about trading and delisting in round fucking 13. Like, what are we doing? The season's not dead. I got sucked into it. It broke me. I mean, the way that we were looking, it looked so off. So I think I'll learn that. Again, I actually said it in my season preview that I would try and let the season play out before making judgment. And I think we all try and do that as well. But wow, you just, we get so caught up. We care so much about something we cannot control. It is just one of the biggest mysteries of life. How sport can connect people into something and get them tuned in and care so much. So there's that. Now the run, the turnaround. Like I said, ownership. I think there was leadership clearly displayed after we were talking about how there was a lack thereof. I think if you look at our leadership group per se, so you got, Cripps with Wiedering and Walsh. So Cripps became a different player after round 13. He started just being a better leader and getting others around him better. There was this just real commitment to helping each other. So he took a step forward. He really evolved as a footballer and as a leader. Wiedering was in the dumps per se. He just didn't have the confidence about him. I talked about us trying to move the ball and taking too much time to think. I still have images early in the season of the ball moving in our back half and the ball being in Wiedering's hands and him just taking so long to figure out what he wanted to do, whether it was the people ahead of the field or whether it was just him being uncertain. And so he figured it out. He really pulled through, and by the end of the year, he was in career best form. And then Walsh struggled a little bit. He had, the preseason injury, and he had some things happen and some niggles and some setbacks. And then, all of a sudden, we started to see some more leaders emerge. I thought Nick Newman really emerged. I think he's always been a leader. I think he just took a big step forward in that regard. I think Adam Sard as well, by the end of the year, when you look at the images of him addressing the group on the field, he may have done that before. I don't think I've ever seen him address the group like that before. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I just thought that was telling. I even saw notions of leadership in Charlie Curnow, who is our spark, our energy. He's the big forward of the group. So he brings the energy. He's the source. So he can be a little bit jovial at times, have a bit of fun, but he got his teammates involved and made others around him better. And I thought that showed leadership and maturity. So yeah, we go from regret to pride. I just keep circling back to how I view the year. Let's talk a bit about the best and the worst and the most improved. So what was the worst moment, Essendon? Pack it up. Easy done. Walking home from the MCG after Essendon, that was it got all of us. I'll never quit anything that I do, but I had this 1 hour conversation with Pommy after the Essendon game, and I was like, mate, what the fuck are we doing this for? What for? Why can't we just live normal lives? And like, this is ridiculous. Like, so that was the low point, the worst, the low point of the year. And then for me, I mean, there's so many high points, but Sam Doherty's goal in the preliminary final was an out of body experience because of the way in which we were playing in the first, dominating. When Doc kicks a goal, it's just different, as we've said. And I had this crazy feeling come over me of, we are playing in a grand final this year. And I've never felt that before. I remember talking to you guys about round 3, 2012, when we beat Collingwood by 10 goals Friday night. I had that feeling of, oh my God, we're going to win the flag, or oh my God, we're good. Oh, so naive. But Doc's goal in the prelim gave me something else to think about. That's deep. Now we've still got some room to improve, and we've got to get better, and we've got some way to go. And just because we made it this year doesn't mean we're going to make it next year. But that was fucking crazy, man. Because we've invested so much of our lives to it. So that was my high moment. But, you got the Melbourne win the week before. You got the Sydney final, even the Collingwood win, St Kilda win, the Port win. So there's a lot of moments. But that's my high point. The best win of the home and away season. This is an interesting one. I mean, the worst is going to be Essendon. That's fine. The best, I thought about this, and I have been thinking about this for a couple of days. I know Collingwood was special. Even the D's one was special. I had my sister with me on that game, so that was a very special one. But the one that really grabbed me and said to me, oh, it's real for the first time, personally, was Port Adelaide. I did not buy into the whole, they're resting players, because they still had some good players playing. But the way in which we systematically dismantled Port Adelaide, that was the one for me. I thought that's the best performance that I've seen them put on. Now, maybe there were better wins later in the year, Gold Coast away, those ones. But I think the best performance was Port Adelaide at Marvel Stadium. That was a very, very special game. Let's move on to some players. So who was our most improved? I think Nick Newman went to another level. Yeah. Chera did as well. He obviously got injured towards the end. I think Nick Newman just took strides. Wow. Like elite. He doesn't get the external praise that he probably should, but I thought he was our most improved player. I actually think Nick Newman will win our best and fairest. I'm filming this at before the best and fairest has happened, so my prediction would be that Nick Newman wins it over the course of the entire season. I know that finals games count as well. My surprise packet. What was the biggest surprise of the year in terms of a player? I did not expect Mr. Chincotta to do what Mr. Chincotta did. That, for me, was the biggest surprise packet. I think Ollie Hollins is in that bracket as well. I didn't expect to see what we saw from Ollie when we saw it. I'm just so accustomed to our early draft picks just needing a bit of time. I mean, Sam Walsh is different, but I know that there have been others that have needed time, so I was willing to give that time. I didn't want to put too much pressure, but Ollie surprised me, but I think Chincotta was the biggest surprise packet of the year. We start the year losing Zach Williams, which is a big hole in the scheme of the way we want to move the ball. He's going to be important for us. And so to have Chincotta, I just thought, we went from Markov, we were going to get him for a little minute, and then Chincotta came around, and I just keep circling back to what he said in that clip when he was announced that he was going to be on the list, and he said he's ready to go to war. Fuck, he was ready to go to war, mate. These are the human beings that build good culture. I'm at a point where I'm so happy that he's on the list next year. He really endeared himself to me. So full props to Mr. Chincotta. Big fan what he was able to do, and I hope it continues, and I know it will. I mean, look at the way the guy works. So there was that. Now, what do we need next? What happens next? Well, the experience, finals experience notion was important. Like to get 3 finals under the belt of this group, huge. I think naturally we need more of it. You look at the Brisbane Lions, they have been there 5 years running. They've lost 2 prelims. They won their third. I think they lost a qualifying, like in a semi. They've been there. You know, there's experience and then there's finals experience. Then I've now come to learn there's like prelim experience and whatnot. And you just kind of got to get to the grand final that anything can happen. So I've learned a new art of humility this year. I think the older I get, the better I get at it. Like I was one of the mouthiest supporters that I know. You know, as a teenager and all of that, it was just, look back now, it's cringe. Even as early as like last year before, you know. So I've learnt the art of what it truly takes to win a premiership. And even now, I still don't really know, but I just have a better picture of it. Experience matters. Taking your opportunities matter. Making the top 4 matters. You know, I lived in the fairy tale of, we can do it from outside 4 and really believed in it. And now I really understand why you need to make the top 4 to win a flag. It just, yes, you can do it from the outside, but you just look at what happened more times than not, most of the time. So there's that. I think getting off to a good start is important. You got to bank your wins early, which I thought we were doing in the first 4 rounds. We were just banking points. And I think when it comes to on the field, I mean, look, Nick Austin and the team, they deserve some kudos. They did a good job bringing in the players that they have brought in over the last few seasons that they're still playing and they're impacting and they're in our best 22 and they'll need to do that again. I feel like there's something in the half forward line that just keeps changing and keeps moving. Now, whether that's because of injuries, I don't know, but it just isn't settled. So I think there's a piece there, whether that's in the draft or whether that's in, you know, via free agency, I don't know. But I think there's a piece there. There's something up with the midfield. There's another layer of, I think we need a dynamic player. And I say dynamic and then I think of Paddy Dow, but I think it's not just burst and wow factor. I think there's a bit of, we need some poise and someone that really uses the ball well, better ball users. Because like I said earlier, I think we're going to need to revisit the ball use like we did this year. And I think we need great ball users. I mean, the boys have got to really go to work on those fundamentals. Again, more layers of it. So I think that's something that I think of right now that we need. Decision makers, you know, those who are composed under pressure. But at the same time, you need a mix of those who are really passionate and emotional. So they will do their work. Kudos to Andrew Russell, who has copped it from the fan base for many years. All of a sudden, the same energy has not been given to him when it goes right. What they did to manage the bodies, to get Jack Martin, the modified preseason, to get him right the right time of the year. We saw Mitch McGovern play a lot of football. We saw Caleb Marchbank all of a sudden back in the fold and like in our best 22 and one of our best performers in a prelim. Lockie Fogarty, who was just, he's another one I should probably add to the most improved, like what he was able to do. So, you know, Dave Cunningham, these players who seemingly we just could not see them consistently on the park, all of a sudden on the park. So that's a big tick for us moving forward. And also goes to show what we knew about health of the list. You know, we didn't want to make excuses, but you need a healthy list. You just do, especially at the pointy end. There's still happy, but now that we're a lot closer than what I thought we were at the start of the year and even in the middle of the year, wow, it's like this off season, like we could win a flag next year. We can do it if we get this off season right. And I think that in itself is the most exciting part for the fans, for the players, and, you know, for the staff as well. Like if we just lock in, get it right this off season, get every single session ticked off in the preseason and really set ourselves up. Like, we are good enough. If we play a prelim at the MCG, a home prelim, and we earn the right to do that, mate, can't see us losing a prelim at home. Mate, come on. I thought the atmosphere of the crowd elevated to a point that I've never seen before. Scenes. Again, for good and for bad. You get the scenes in round 13, as ugly as they were, and they are fucking ugly scenes. Like, human beings spitting. That's just like, come on. You know, they're not animals. We're not in barbaric times. That is just gross. And that's not a depiction of the entire fan base, but it just shows how deep a human being's willing to go. Then you got the scenes after Melbourne. So it's, I don't know. It's all beautiful, really. Like, the good and the bad. You don't have it. You don't know what's really good without knowing what's really bad. So I think we've got some work to do. I loved Stronger Together. I hope it's not going to be something for the 2023 run. I hope that's something we move forward together. It's the first slogan I have latched onto where I actually, I dig it. Because previously, they know we're coming. Can you smell what the Blues are cooking? Blah, blah, blah. Ego. Look at us. We're Carlton. We're the best. There's an underlying notion with that. Now you've got humility. Now you've got, some respect for yourselves, and you've got that unity. And I think knowing that we play a part as the fan base, and we feel more connected to the club, I think is important. I thought we took a step forward in the fan engagement space. Very grateful to have Luke Sayers come on a couple of times on the channel and just be really raw and open. When we're talking on the Monday after the prelim loss, he's sick, got a head cold, could have cancelled that very easily. So I think little pieces like that go a long way in just merging into the new world. We had the older generation and the newer generation link up, and now we share this memory of this year together. Whereas in the past, the only good memories were the ones that we were told and fed through the older generation. So I love that. And for me, it's a positive feeling, and it's not guaranteed next year, but it's a positive feeling. Learned a lot about myself. I do every year doing this. You can't not. You face it. I don't look back on things until the end of the season. So I've had a chance to go back and reflect and watch myself. And it's like, I know what was going on in my life at certain points in the year and fronting up. And it's a real journey of personal development. It really is, because you've got nowhere to hide. I'm here every week. No matter what's going on in my life, I'm here. We're all here, everyone. So on behalf of, for me, thank you for being in the audience. Without the audience, there is no channel. So as therapeutic as it is for you, it's therapeutic for us. I'll spend some time on all the content creators and everyone that's a part of this channel, this network. But wow, we took a big step forward, brought the besties on board 12 months ago. The girls in footy, it was kind of still not accepted in some respect. They were getting the pushback. Now we have the besties, they're a part of the game day experience. So to have the girls now a part of us, and I think we've still got layers to go. This is not the finished product. We've got to continue to just reflecting and getting better. And I think we're in a good space. I think the fans, the digital fans, it's a competitive advantage that we have if we do it right and if we use it for good. And so, yeah. What about you, mate? How do you summarize season 2023? Let me know. Document as long as you want in the comments below, because I think this will be the year of the beginning. 2023, I think, will truly be known as the beginning of the Carlton Football Club, particularly in this era where we took the step to becoming a contender for the first time. So I look forward to reading through all your summaries, and thanks once again. And we're not going anywhere, but appreciate it. And as always, go the Mighty Blues.